What's up, guys? Seth Albersworth here, and
Meana Albersworth.
we're here at elitefts with a fresh pair of Patriot knee wraps. One of the most frequent questions that we get asked is, how do we wrap knees? Now, I've wrapped some 1,000-pound raw squats, 1,100-pound raw squats, so people always want to know if there's a secret, if there's a trick, and I think that what it really comes down to is having the right wrap and putting effort into how you're wrapping. I think you can get fancy with patterning, but the most important parts is that the wrap is tight, the wrap is consistent, and you have a stiff wrap that is going to have some stretch, but it's also going to lock up at the end of that pull. So when you're setting up your wrap to wrap it, you obviously don't want to start with a wrap like this. Now, whether or not you pre-roll it with a wrap roller or just roll it loose by hand is up to preference. The pro of pre-rolling with a roller is you can get it super tight and you get all of the stretch out of the wrap beforehand. The con to using a wrap roller is that if all the stretch is out of it, the wrap kind of almost becomes like a little hand grenade that can explode if you drop the wrap, and then you're stuck with a loose wrap that isn't really going to help you out much. When you're setting up on the wrap roller, you want to start with a little bit out of it, and you don't want to start kind of just loosely pulling just to make sure that the wrap is bound up on itself before you grab onto it with your hand and just crank it in and get all of the tension out. The whole point of using a roller is to make sure that all the stretch, all the tension, all the slack is out of the wrap. So you're really going to want to make sure that you're getting it out and you're really driving down to get rid of that stretch and slack. And once the wrap's rolled up, all you're going to do is take that little bit of wiggle to get it off. And you can either put a hair elastic on, is what some people do to hold it, but I just like kind of pulling up the end and tucking it in on itself, and there you have a wrap that's pre-rolled and ready to go.
So as somebody who has small hands, like he said, if it is wrapped up really tight and pre-rolled, it is going to be a hand grenade and you won't be able to hang on to it. I personally prefer just doing a loose pre-roll so that I can actually grip it without it exploding on me.
And now that the wrap is pre-rolled, we're going to take Meana over to a bench so she can sit down to get her knees wrapped. So what we're going to do before we start putting the wrap on her is we're going to get some chalk on her knee, and that is just to prevent the wrap from sliding on her skin. If the wrap's grabbing onto her skin a little bit harder with the chalk, she's going to be able to get more pounds out of it just because it won't be moving on her leg. So to start the wrap, I'm going to make sure that I have a little bit of a tongue on the wrap just so that we can use that at the end to tie the wrap off. And to bring that tongue behind her knee, I'm going to pull it around tight, again making sure that all the slack is out. I'm just going to bring it over the top of her quad, and then I'm going to use the actual wrap end and make sure it's tagged down to hold it down. Now, you can usually get the lifter to hold on to the tongue too, just so it doesn't go away. And from there, we're just going to wrap around. On most people, I usually like to go 3 wraps down, getting about half overlap, and then I start going back up for 2 wraps. Something that I really want to focus on when I'm wrapping a knee is making sure that I'm getting as much material behind the knee joint itself rather than having a wide spread up the quad and down the calf, because wrap that's up there or down there isn't really going to do much or influence much on the actual knee hinge. So after I go 2 wraps up, I'm going to come back around and start crossing over the kneecap. 1 cross down, 1 cross up. On a small knee like Meana's, I can usually get 2 crosses in. And from there, I'm just going to put more material around the center of the knee. And now we have this tongue that we left up right at the beginning, so we're going to use that to tie it off. And there we go. That is a knee wrap. Now if you want to get it off, if you use the tongue tie method, it's just a quick release, you pull it, and it's good to go.
So one thing to keep in mind as the person getting their knees wrapped, or you can just tell this to your lifter, is to make sure that their toe is pointed up as hard as possible and they're flexing their quad as hard as they can the entire time just to get the most out of the wrap. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe.
And if you liked watching us, you can find more of us at Activated Performance on Instagram and YouTube.
Thanks, guys.